On the news tonight, INEC chairman says use of technology critical to success of 2023 elections. Reveals that Nigerian voters 16.7 million more than the rest of West Africa. Slain Lagos-based lawyer Bolanle Rahim buried amid tears. And Senate panel seeks more time to probe federal government's 23.7 trillion naira extra budgetary spending. Well, many thanks for joining us on News Now. I am Folashade Ogurinde. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmood Yakubu, has said that the use of technology such as the bimodal voter accreditation system is critical to the success of the 2023 elections. The INEC chairman, who disclosed this while addressing an audience at Chatham House in London, said political actors are often found culpable in acts that undermine the success of electoral process. Yakubu added that in spite of the various attacks on the Commission's facilities across the nation, the 2023 general election will be held as scheduled. Speaking on some of the challenges of the electoral umpire, the INEC chairman revealed that Nigeria has 10.7 million more voters than the rest of West Africa.
93.4 million registered voters expected to elect their representatives in 1,491 constituencies spread across 176,846 polling units. Based on the figures we compiled from the websites of various electoral commissions and interior ministries in West Africa, Nigeria's current voter population is 16.7 million, higher than the 76.7 million registered voters in all the other countries put together, and there are 14 other countries in the sub-region. This means that a general election in Nigeria is like conducting elections in the whole of West Africa and beyond. We know that political actors often try to undermine the process by attacking the technology, casting doubts on its suitability, bypassing its use, or indeed seeking to undermine its security. This informed the early choice of a new voter accreditation technology using an electronic device called the bimodal voter accreditation system. We have tested it in several by-elections and off-cycle governorship elections. In addition, the decision to make polling unit election results available for public viewing, which has always been a major demand by citizens and election observers, falls into this early choice of election technology. The INEC Results Viewing Portal, the IREV, is a dedicated web portal for the public view of polling unit results as soon as they are finalized on election day.
Well, to speak more on this development, legal expert and political commentator Evans Ifeli joins me now. As always, thank you very much for your time. Now, the use of beavers has been a source of concern for many Nigerians who believe it fails as technology does sometimes. But as a solution, the INEC chairman has said mock accreditation will be carried out across selected polling units to ascertain the integrity of the beavers before the main elections begin in February. Are you optimistic that this strategy will work?
Yes, I'm optimistic. I believe that the beavers should be properly tested before the coming elections. Even though it has been used in some of the staggered elections we've had in the past, I still believe that proper testing should be done, given that this election is going to be a turning point in the history of our country, and is going to set a standard for the whole of Africa and the world at large. I think that the issue of identification of voters is very, very crucial in election and electioneering. So through the beavers, one will come to terms that the registered voter is actually the one voting, okay, so that issues of false identity can be completely eliminated. So it's a good one for us to have a trial, a pre-trial, a pilot scheme, and then before the proper election. This will go a long way to make the process clean. It will determine the integrity of the process, because in our clan here, politicians have a way of coming up with schemes to undermine the integrity of the process. And that should not be seen in the coming election, because if that is done, it will lead to a lot of issues of litigation and all that, and it will throw a lot of dust up there that will mar the election. So what INEC is doing, or what INEC says it's going to do, is the best in the interest of the public and the interest of our nation. Let them do a proper pre-trial before the election commences.
Now, on the diaspora voting policy, which the INEC chairman has assured is pending legal provisions, how significant will this policy be on the outcome of future elections in Nigeria?
Well, diaspora voting is important. I mean, the fact that a citizen of Nigeria is outside Nigeria his citizenship does not cease. So if his citizenship annuls, there's no point discriminating them. So let's get the legal issues right. The right bills should be passed to that effect. The Constitution will determine that the INEC Act should be amended to that effect to include diaspora voting, because the truth is that over the years we have come to see that the Nigerians in diaspora contribute a huge chunk of our economy. They also contribute a lot to issues back home here. So it is important that their voices are heard too, because we see how they follow issues back home here, wherever they are all over the world. They are following issues on politics, on the economy, on the general well-being of the Nigerian state. Once a Nigerian is always a Nigerian. So the right legislation is what is required to open the floodgate for them to participate. Since if you look at even Nigerians in diaspora, most of them have centers where they do the NIN, okay, where they have this, they've come to terms with the identification. So if we have that, nothing stops us from taking INEC registration to all the countries we have over the world where Nigerians are. Have them register, let them participate in the political processes, exercise their civic responsibility in their country of origin. It is a critical thing. I mean, it is long overdue. You cannot call them citizens who contribute to the economy and not give them chance to have their voices heard in the political scene in the country. I think the agitation that they be included is very, very critical, and it is time for that to happen.
But definitely it's a legal policy, and we just have to wait and see how that turns out. Our legal expert and political commentator, Evan Sefeli, thank you very much for speaking with us. A Lagos-based lawyer, Bolanle Rahim, who was shot dead on Christmas Day in Lagos, allegedly by an assistant superintendent of police, Drambi Vande, has been buried in the Ikoyi area of Lagos. Rahim was interred after a funeral service at the Olive Tree Parish of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Banana Island in Lagos. A service of songs was held on Monday, January 16th, before a burial on Tuesday. Earlier, the remains of Bolanle Rahim arrived at the church for a funeral service and burial, which was attended by immediate family members, friends, and others. In a one-count charge filed before the courts, the Lagos state government alleged that Vande shot and killed Rahim in the Ajah area of the state on December 25, 2022. He, however, pleaded not guilty. President of the Senate, Hamid Lawan, has advised the executive arm of government to expedite action on the request by the Senate Ad hoc Committee working on 23.7 trillion naira ways and means secured from the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, in the last 10 years. The appeal has become necessary as the absence of the finance minister and the central bank governor has hampered the work of the Ad hoc Committee headed by the leader of the Senate, Ibrahim Gobri. According to the Senate leader, the team is yet to receive communication to enable them commence legislative work, especially as the National Assembly plans to adjourn next week for the election. Senator Gabriel therefore requested to be given a 3-day extension to conclude work on the request.
Unfortunately, in the process, after asking a lot of questions, because we sent about 6 questions to the Minister of Finance and about 5 to the CBN Governor, but unfortunately, we were not able to get the information that we are looking for. Why? Because the 2 of them were out of town. And therefore, it's going to be difficult for our committee to set up. I mean, it was difficult for our committee to come up with the report as scheduled today. But we want an extension of about 3 days so that we can be able to gather all the required information and sit down and then take care of the situation and then report back to the Senate immediately.
Appeal to us that we accept the request of the committee, the special committee, to have an extension of 3 days. But let me also advise the executive arm of government. The Ways and Means request for approval before the Senate is a serious issue. The National Assembly or the Senate is prepared to consider the request, but we must have the necessary information.
The Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, has pledged the commitment of the Defense Headquarters to continually honor personnel and veterans of the Nigerian military who died in the cause of protecting the integrity of the nation. The Defense Chief gave the assurance while delivering his remarks at the Paintball Combat Competition in Abuja as part of the activities to commemorate the Armed Forces Remembrance Day 2023. While commending the personnel for putting the nation ahead of all other interests, General Irabo promised to work in partnership with the forest hunters to immortalize the fallen heroes.
The events that we've witnessed is also to further honor them, to let them know that their services will indeed never, ever be forgotten. So I'm proud that we've been able to put this together in partnership with the forest hunters, who, of course, came up with the idea and suggested that we partner with them. And that's the reason why I'd like to very specially commend Mr. Bayo Omoboriowo for this very good work. And please let us give it a round of applause. Well done, Bayo. May I also say that Bayo, along with his team in Forest Hunters, have upfront given the armed forces a 30% rebate for any use of this arena. And I'd like to also say, going forward, that we will do everything possible to partner with the Forest Hunters, making it an annual event as we remember our fallen heroes and, of course, the armed forces every January of coming years.
The recently appointed Acting Director of Defense Information, Brigadier General Tuko Gusau, has officially assumed office. This comes on the heels of the handing and taking over ceremony between the outgoing defense spokesperson, Major General Jimmy Akpo, and the incoming Brigadier General Gusau. Speaking during the ceremony in Abuja, Brigadier General Gusau reminded journalists of their pivotal roles in preferring solutions to the myriad of security challenges across the country. He urged them to shun sensational reports which could dampen the morale of the troops and create a sense of insecurity among the citizenry.
I urge you to please be very professional in performing your roles as representatives of the various media houses across the country and beyond, especially on matters concerning national security. The power of pen can go a long way in finding solutions to some of the security challenges our gallant troops are presently curtailing. I urge you to provide the enabling environment for members of the Armed Forces of Nigeria to perform their constitutional roles without distractions. As the nation gradually approaches the coming general elections starting from next month, I appeal to you to avoid reports capable of affecting the morale of our gallant troops and the credibility of our armed forces as we work towards supporting other government agencies to achieve peaceful and credible elections across the country.
I was thoroughly helped by the Chief of Defense Staff in forging an enduring relationship with the media. Not a relationship that gags the media, but a relationship with a consciousness that the media, like the military, has a crucial role to play in creating a peaceful, orderly environment for all citizens to aspire and live their dreams.
The paramount ruler of Iwo Land, Oba Abdulrasheed Adewale Akanbi, has called on all politicians to not relegate the traditional rulers to the background, as Nigeria requires their vast and rich experience in building a strong foundation in politics, economy, and security sectors of the country. The paramount ruler, while speaking in Lagos on Monday during the public presentation of Code of Kings, says Nigerian politicians need traditional rulers to checkmate them at all times. The paramount ruler, while speaking in Lagos on Monday, also explained that Nigerians are marching towards re-electing new government that will champion the cause of governance in the country.
Infrastructural growth, bringing development to the towns and cities, everything falls on the king. So I have seen this one, and I'm working on this, and this is that's why the Code of Kings. The Code of Kings is to tell kings how we should behave, how we should do ourselves, how we should get prepared for next generation of our new-found democracy, which has to include kings.
Oluwo, from the authorial point of view now, and as reviewed, is saying that no other God should rival with the supremacy of God. And he says he has not jettisoned the culture. When necessary to celebrate our festivals, we should do it in a neater form, in a more attractive form that can woo the masses.
It is encouraging that a distinguished monarch like the Oluwo of Iwo will find time to sit down and write. It is not easy to write, and it is not easy to read. And now to come up with a book of about 359 pages is worthy of emulation and commendation. I have found this book from the author as a great addition to learning, knowledge, and history. The Oluwo has epitomized his in-depth knowledge of the history of his people.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, United Nations warns of economic uncertainty in 2023. We'll bring you more details right after this break. Welcome back. Now here is a recap of some of our top stories tonight. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, said that the use of technology such as the bimodal voter accreditation system is critical to the success of the 2023 elections. The INEC chairman, who disclosed this while addressing an audience at Chatham House in London, said political actors are often found culpable in acts that undermine the success of electoral process. But we also told you that a Lagos-based lawyer, Bolanle Rahim, who was shot dead on Christmas Day in Lagos, allegedly by an assistant superintendent of police, Drambi Vandi, has been buried in the Ikoyi area of Lagos. Rahim was interred after a funeral service at the Olive Tree Parish of the Redeemed Christian Church of God in Banana Island, Lagos. Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we are TV360 Online. China's economy grew in 2022 at the second slowest rate in almost half a century, in a sign of how the country's strict coronavirus regulations have affected businesses. Official figures show the gross domestic product of the world's second largest economy rose 3% in 2022, way below the government's target of 5.5%, but better than most economists had forecast. Last month, Beijing abruptly lifted its strict zero COVID-19 policy. The policy had a major impact on the country's economic activity last year, but the sudden relaxation of the rules has led to a jump in COVID-19 cases that threatens to also drag on growth in the early part of this year. We'll take a breather now and return with more stories and business. To stay with us.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places, the Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Mary Kano is on standby for more stories and business. Over to you, Mary.
Thank you, Folashade. Hello and welcome to Business News. A global economic slowdown will force more workers into accepting lower quality, poorly paid jobs in 2023 while inflation gobbles up real-term wages, the United Nations has warned. According to the UN's International Labour Organization, as prices rise faster than economies, the cost of living crisis risks pushing more people into poverty while unemployment around the world is set to rise. The ILO added that deficits in decent work had been worsened by multiple overlapping crises, including Russia's war in Ukraine, emerging geopolitical tensions, uneven recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, and continuing supply chain bottlenecks. Still on the global economy, the International Monetary Fund has said about 15% of low-income countries are already in debt distress. In a new report, the IMF said an additional 45% of the population is further at high risk of debt distress. The IMF added that about 25% are at high risk and facing default-like borrowing spreads among emerging markets. We'll take a break and return with stock market report. It's the second trading day of the week and the market makes a comeback to close high at 0.67%. Bullish sentiment swept through the Nigerian Exchange Limited as we see the market close at 52,701 basis points. 110 equities participated in trading, ending with 15 losers and 21 gainers led by UPD, Cyril, Estate Investment and MRS, all with about 1 naira 70 kobo gains at the close of trading. Data shows there was 3% improvement in volume and 37% improvement in turnover. Now, with investors showing worries about the market's run so far in the new year, analysts have projected that the positive momentum recorded in the past 3 years will be sustained in 2023, although at a moderate pace. A switch now to some select global stocks. Now, coming off back-to-back positive trading days, it's a different story for these select stocks. As we can see, negative trading for the FTSE and Dow Jones as investors struggle to keep building on early 2023 momentum, and this has weighed on the latest earning results. Well, that's the stock market report. Back to you, Folashade.
Many thanks, Mary, for that update. And on the foreign scene, pressure is mounting on Germany to supply Ukraine with battle tanks as Kyiv's Western allies prepare for a military aid meeting on Friday at a U.S. airbase in Germany. More than 9,000 civilians, including 453 children, have been killed in Ukraine since Russia's invasion began in February, a senior Ukrainian presidential aide has said. Search and rescue efforts have ended in Ukraine's central city of Dnipro, where a missile strike on an apartment block killed at least 44 civilians in one of the world's deadliest attacks. In sports, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp says he will not leave Liverpool unless he is told to go, hinting at a major overhaul of his aging squad at the end of the season. A 6th Premier League defeat of the campaign at the weekend means the 2020 champions are 10 points outside the top 4, with just over half the season remaining. Klopp last year signed a contract extension until 2026, and the 55-year-old has stressed that only a sack would prevent him from seeing that through. And that's the size of our news bulletin. Many thanks for watching. I am Folashade Ogurinde. Bye for now.